Hello, my name's Julie Groves and we are at Adam's Gallery, which I own and run with Adam Green. We opened 1 year ago and we're very pleased to be joined today by Dave McKean. We are seated in the main room of the gallery, where we have had a collection of Dave's original work on display since the summer as a show called Imaginings. There's a vast array of mediums and subjects from various projects executed with ink, pencil, collage and mixed media. So first of all, welcome.
Welcome. Lovely to be here.
Great. It's fantastic to have you and your work all in the same space, which is great. I thought perhaps we could have a general chat about the works that we've got in the show. Some have obviously sold and wended their way across the world, which is great.
That's nice.
It is very nice. But it'd be great to hear you speak about, the stuff that we've got here.
Okay.
At the moment we're seated in front of just a few of the pieces from an Apes Progress.
Yes.
Which I think was collaborative.
It was a collaboration between myself and saxophone player and composer Ian Bellamy, Matthew Sweeney, who's a poet, sadly died now, and then an extraordinary band, Stian Carstensen, Kit Downs, Amelia Martinson, and it was a commission from the Manchester Jazz and Literary Festivals combined. So we did the performance several times over 2 festivals, and it was a kind of immigrant story, really. It started as a group of poems written by Matthew. He just went to Manchester, wandered round, mostly the pubs, I think, and came up with a little suite of poems. And there's a pub called the Old Monkey, another one right next door called the Circus, the Old Circus, I think it's called. So that became the thing that I alighted on as being possibly the theme of it, or the central character for it. So the story followed a little monkey from coming over from China, retiring, or moving to Manchester, making his way through the city, but not just geographically, also through layers of time in the city. Mm-hmm. So he would meet historical figures from Manchester's past. Strange story. And then all set to sort of a jazz score and a series of suite of songs. So it was a sort of mixed media, film projected, animation, songs, improvisation, narrative, poetry.
Did that all happen as one kind of sort of massive creative splurge between you all at the same time, or was it in a...
It was kind of initiated by Matthew Sweeney with his poems, and then Ian and I sat down and gave it some sort of structure, and I gave it some sort of narrative structure. And he wandered off and found interesting pieces of melody and music to put to it. So it was mostly Ian and I creating the final show.
Right. Great.
And then we took it to the band and then they did their thing. Oh, and Matthew Sharp as well.
Oh, yes.
An extraordinary singer, and he sang one of the songs, Emmeline, which was a lovely highlight of it. About Emmeline Pankhurst.
Okay.
The monkey met Emmeline Pankhurst.
Wow. This monkey got about.
He got about. And John Dee as well. I mean,
that's
hundreds of
he
years
features.
Ago. He's around.
I don't know if it's in shot, but we can.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to hear how the way the music is really linked so closely to that project. It always feels to me, in general, that when I look at your work, it's kind of got this element of theatre anyway. It's kind of always a moment in time captured. I always feel like nothing's ever quite static. Mm-hmm. There's always something about to happen, or it's in the moment of happening. It's kind of almost transient. You think, oh, what have I captured here? You know, sort of, it's an interesting thing. There's a kind of dynamism.
It's probably because most of the projects are about stories. They're images embedded in stories.
Yeah.
So they've come from where the narrative was, and they're heading towards where the narrative is going.
Yeah, they're like marker moments kind of thing. Yeah, I just wondered. I don't know. Whenever I look at your pieces, I think because I'm a musician as well. Do you feel like any of it's related to your musician work as well? Just kind of like that temporal moment that you can't quite recapture. You know, every time you play, you experience a moment in time, and I just feel like there. Do you think there's any link to
there probably is something of that. Certainly music is hugely important to me. I've worked to music and always try and find some specific music that conjures up the mood for that piece or that project. And as soon as I've found the right record, I just play that all the time, and it puts me right back into that place. So the sense of music, and also the way that great music evolves narratively, has influenced my storytelling a lot.
We were very lucky to see The Black Dog, The Dreams of Paul Nash in Rye. I don't know if that was the premiere or not.
In Rye it wouldn't be, the premiere was at the Lakes Festival.
Right, okay. Well, we're very lucky to see it anyway. So is the performance and music aspect of these works something that's naturally developed over the years, or has performance and music always been a part of your work? You've kind of answered that, I think.
Well, it was my life choice at 18.
Right.
So I was playing in bands with a view to getting a record deal or pursuing that. But then my other love was drawing and painting and comics and book covers and more on the applied arts rather than fine arts. So I was between these two worlds and deciding whether to go to music school or pursue that full time or go to art college. And since so many bands came out of art school, I thought I could go to art school and keep the music going anyway, which kind of did. We sniffed a few record deals and a little bit of success playing at festivals and things. But then when I left art school, actually just before, I just got so swamped with work, just really lucky, that I had to just focus on that. So for a long time, for 10 years or so, the music just became for me. And then I just really missed it. So then started making films and looking at projects that I could incorporate, I could bring music and sound in as well. And so this sort of multimedia format, where I can work with narrative and music and live performance and everything else, just suits me to a T, really. I've really enjoyed it. We've done a few projects like that now.
Yeah. With the drawing, do you have like an earliest memory of sort of creating an artwork, or is it just something that's always happened?
It's always. I don't remember not drawing.
Right.
I remember sort of key things like drawing animals at school and noticing that other people's animals didn't really look like animals, and mine at least plausibly could be an animal. That was infant school.
Right.
You know. I remember being asked by the head teacher to draw a map of Ethiopia. Ooh. Because the Emperor Haile Selassie was visiting a local agricultural college, and so I drew it and I presented it to him. So I remember little things like that, you know. I remember drawing a portrait of somebody. I think it was a film actor for the first time, just copied from a photograph, but it actually looked like him. Right. And my parents were surprised that it looked like him. Again, I must have been about 8. Yeah. So I remember those key little moments. Those are the things that sort of give you confidence, that make you think, actually, maybe I could do this. Yeah. And then finding out that people actually had careers. People were paid money to draw things.
Wow.
Which I couldn't quite believe, because everybody I knew, my parents were not in the arts at all. Everybody I knew had proper jobs.
It's kind of an alien world that's
completely
working
alien.
in the arts. Yeah. Well, it's not alien anymore.
No, certainly not. But that idea that some people spend their lives just drawing things, that sounded amazing.
Idyllic.
So,
well, I think that's kind of what you're doing. So well done. So you mentioned cinema. I know we've got the nitrates of the nitrate works.
Yeah.
The ink drawings based on your love of early cinema.
Yeah.
Do you know where that love came from? of early film, and are you still inspired by cinema now? I think probably yes.
Completely yes, and it came from buying a book. I was given a voucher from my school for doing something, I don't know what, as a prize, and I think they expected me to buy some proper educational book, but I bought a book of horror movies, stills by Dennis Gifford. I've still got it. Lots of my friends, that was their first book. Introduction into that world of fantastical imagery and horror films and science fiction and things. But I love this book, and I bought it for the Draculas and Frankensteins. But before that, there were all these other images of much older films, and they were much more mysterious, and I couldn't quite understand them. Some of the images, Georges Méliès's films, which are a mixture of actors and painted sets.
They're amazing.
Extraordinary, but at that age, I didn't realise film was that old, and I couldn't make sense of them.
It is very old. Sort of
18...
People experimenting.
1889 was the first film, so much older than you think. And the images themselves have this dusty, scratchy, elusive quality to
Mysterious.
them. And those were the images in the book that really stayed with me.
Yeah.
Méliès's films, Andrea's films, Vampire, and Murnau's films, Nosferatu, and those films. And I've never lost my love of those kinds of images, the ones that are hard to explain. You can't quite see what's going on, and they just live inside you. And when I got to see the films, the way the light pulses and flickers, and it feels like there's a veil between you and this other world.
Yes. Yeah.
I loved all of that, and it became a way of thinking about all my work. Really, that's what I wanted all to do, to have this slightly otherness to it.
Yeah.
So I still love it. I'm still trying to work it out, and redrawing these, making these drawings and paintings inspired by the films, is a way of kind of remaking those images for myself, reinventing them for myself, making sense of them for me. So they're not just copies of the images, they're trying to capture the spirit and why I love them and why they've affected me so much. Not just the depiction of the actors in a film.
Yeah.
There's something else going on.
Yeah. A bit of poetry in there as well, I think. Unrelated to theatre and film and music, apart from the theatre of the author Ian Sinclair's mind, perhaps, are the 4 works we've got from your collaboration on My Favourite London Devils. How did that relationship come about? And what's the process?
I met Ian in Harrogate.
Right.
We were both at a, I think it was a science fiction convention. I don't know what he was doing there. But I was there because I was with a theatre group, actually. I was with 3 science fiction writers, and we were called the Unauthorised Sex Company. And it was a sort of review with music and acting about erotic science fiction, basically.
Oh, right.
4 men doing it. Strange. Jeff Ryman, Simon Ings and Colin Greenland, and me. And I wasn't on stage, I just did the music. Anyway, we were at Harrogate, and Ian was there, and I'd picked up Whitechapel Scarlet Tracings. Lots of people were talking about his books. I know Alan Moore was a huge fan of his. And I bought it. I picked it up because Richard Parent did the cover. I used to buy all my books because I liked the covers at the time. And because he was there right in front of me, I just said, hello, I've just bought this book, and if you ever, I'm interested in working with writers who don't do comics. If you ever fancy doing comics, please give me a call. And he did. And we did some short stories. We did a book called Slow Chocolate Autopsy, which had some comics in and some prose and illustration. And we've just kept in touch ever since. We've done 2, I've collaborated with him and Chris Pettit on 2 television films. I've done all kinds of other work with him and for him. And so this was the next one. It's a series of writings by his favourite London writers, and it seemed like a nice opportunity to do some portraits of these writers.
Yeah, they're quite enigmatic. They're great.
They're an interesting bunch, and they all very much have their own character.
They really do.
It was nice to draw some of my favourites. J.G. Ballard was in the book, and Angela Carter.
Yeah. What else can I ask you about? Oh yeah, we've also got 2 original pages from Neil Gaiman's book Smoke and Mirrors. Can you tell us a bit about these?
Well, again, that was really a commission. I think Smoke and Mirrors had been out at another publisher, but they it was a publisher in America wanted to do a really lovely, lavish, illustrated edition. It took me ages actually because I got the commission in the middle of doing a film, and thought I could do it in a week, and it just went on. And I picked this stupid format, which very large, elaborate drawings.
Yeah.
So again,
they're quite stunning though. They're quite striking for their size.
I know, but they just took too long.
Too much ink, too long.
Too long. Too fiddly. So yes, it's a collection of short stories with illustrations attached.
Yeah, I think and we've also got Angelus pieces, which seem much more intimate actually. Is there anything you can share with us about what it is and the story behind it?
I'm still not sure what it is. I was during lockdown. I was asked by a poet friend in America. He's written some poems, but I'd like to do some illustrations for them.
Right.
I thought it was going to be a nice, easy one. Well, that I could just
be a running theme.
Yeah. I could just go for a coffee. I'd go for a walk, go for a coffee in the morning, and do a drawing.
Yeah.
And once I'd done 15, 20 of those mornings, I'd have a book. But it got out of control, as a lot of things do, and also
got into it.
And also, he's proved to be a slightly tricksy character to deal with. So I don't know where the book is. It might come out eventually.
Maybe it's just one of those things that takes a long time to come to fruition.
It might take a long time to come to fruition, or I might end up just using the drawings for something else.
Right, okay.
Whichever happens first.
Yeah, I quite like them because there's something slightly raw about them. You've obviously sat down with your pencil. Do you often start with pencil? I feel like it's a kind of snapshot, sort of a moment. You've sat down, you've had this idea. There we go, it's on the page.
That's pretty much exactly right. With no pre-drawing and no planning.
Wow, yeah.
It was just reading the poem and responding to it.
Yeah.
They all have, I think they live in quite a grotesque world.
Right.
The writer clearly doesn't.
Interesting.
But that was my take on them, because he keeps on trying to make the women look prettier, and it's not. That's not what the prose. It's not what the poetry's doing, conveys, as far as I'm concerned. But it was just a raw reaction to the poems.
Yeah.
And
they feel like it. It's sort of like
and
immediacy.
All the poems are quite intimate. They're all about. Right. They're mostly about relationships and getting inside the head of one of the big characters, looking at this, trying to make sense of this relationship, and most of the relationships are kind of fractured.
Right. Well,
so it is quite an intimate set of drawings, really.
Yeah, I really like them.
Good.
Yeah, I think I've got through all my questions. Is there anything you'd like to add in, or future ideas?
That one.
Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned that.
We haven't mentioned that one. I've got some prints. There's some of my
Angelus.
favourite recent things. I'm hard on my own work. I don't really like looking back on it, but that project just worked for me really well. It's a long, ongoing project called The Wolf's Child, which was a theatrical
there it
piece.
Comes up again, theatre.
For theatre again.
Narrative.
Yeah, narrative again. For Wildworks in Cornwall, great landscape theatre company.
Right.
And I wrote the play.
Oh wow.
But I've shot versions of it many times, so I'm piecing together a film version of it. Okay. So that's another thing. Then I've been doing drawings and paintings based on the theme of it, which is the animal nature inside us.
Right.
And then I want to do these prints, working with Stephen Vakiri, who's a fantastic screen printer local to me, and I've never done screen prints before. So partly it was the fact that it was all new, and I got to see this process working, and also I was very happy with those drawings.
There's something quite I can't think of the word. Not precise. Something quite delicate about them all. They seem. I know you've got sort of crows and there's something very delicate about the execution. I don't know, and the gold maybe as well. I think the lack of lots of colour is sort of like very clear as well in a way. It's kind of.
Well, I was kind of happy with the looseness of them. They feel like they capture the motion of the characters. I think pretty well, and again, it's that narrative thing of coming in from one part of the narrative and going out to another. Right. It feels like it's images on the move, I think, rather than being frozen, static images of people posing. Yeah. It feels like they're coming into the scene, out of the scene.
As well, there's more room for imagination around that, I think,
I think so.
if it's more fluid.
And there's lots of just pure mark making in it. The gold and the pink plates are largely made up of just marks, motion of ink on paper, pencil scribbles.
And then that's juxtaposed against the very fine drawing.
And I'm just becoming more and more in love with mark making, a pure abstraction, really.
Right.
I can't quite leave figurative drawing behind, but maybe in a few years' time I will, because I'm certainly heading that way.
Right, exciting. Well, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
And good luck with all the
Nice
work
to
I know
chat.
you're rushing off to do. Thank you.
Cheers.